All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Thoroughbred Underdog. These are my Thoroughbred thoughts for the wrestling week of May 4th to today, May 10th. Tonight we have a PLE, Backlash. I ain't gonna lie to you, I almost forgot all about Backlash. It is a one-match show to me until I looked at the card and saw what was on it. The only thing I knew of or even cared about, even though I brought it up last week, and the last recording is that we got Pat McAfee versus Gunther. The only match I knew going in was Cena versus Orton, because it's being promoted as the last match they'll ever have. And I'm not sure if I believe that, because, with them having so much chemistry and one of the most storied rivalries in WWE history, do you really blow off that match at Backlash and that's the only one they ever have left? I don't know. But I didn't have a lot of excitement going into this PLE. I barely knew it was happening, and I'm still going to give you my predictions for the show. But to me, it's a completely missable show outside of Cena and Orton. I might even take my nap and might wake up and the show might be over. And I'll be looking at the clips and results on YouTube, X, and Instagram or what have you. Because it just seems like just yesterday we was watching Mania, you know what I'm saying? And here we are already at Backlash, and I don't know, man. Even like the build for a lot of the matches hasn't been that great because they haven't really had a lot of time to. I mean, only maybe 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks of build. Not really a lot to be invested in, like even this past Monday, we're starting to get like Logan Paul versus Jay, seemingly. And that's not even happening on tonight's show. So, yeah, it seems like a very missable PPV or PLE, which is it's crazy to say, because wasn't it the year before last we got Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, and that was like one of the best matches of that year. And now we got another Backlash here, and it just seems like you have to remind people, like, oh, there's a match, And I think a lot of the reasons because of the build, how soon it's happened, and not only that, but not only those things, but looking at the card here before I give my predictions, seem like a lot of the results are very predictable. So, in this recording, I'm just, like I say, I give y'all my thoughts. Instead of giving you shorts throughout the week, I do this on Saturdays and just give you a compilation, if you will, of the things I, watched, and things that piqued my interest, and, things that are just so, outstanding in the wrestling world that I have to comment on them. I have to give my thoughts on them, right? And the reason I'm giving you this one early instead of in the evening is because there are some people who actually do want to watch Backlash tonight and are invested in the storylines and what have you. So I don't want to give my show around that same time, or my recording around that same time. And more often than not, I don't do shows after the PLEs. Giving you my thoughts about what happened unless it's that incredible. So I like to be the Sunday night heat to the PPVs, if you will. Thinking about that, wouldn't it have been dope back in the day if after Monday Night Raw we had like a post show called the War Report? Would have been dope, right? But anyway, I start with my predictions. We'll get into some other things. And I can assure you this won't be an hour-long one. I say that every week. And I don't want to get too into the habit of, oh, it's a PLE or it's a pay-per-view and not give you a show or a recording because, yeah, like it's too early into this new way of doing things to even be doing that, even for a Mania like I did. But I think it's understandable for a Mania because that's a big for PPV or PLE. It's like Manias, Royal Rumbles, Survivor Series, maybe not Money in the Bank. I'm not too keen on Money in the Bank being a whole pay-per-view. I kind of miss when it was at Mania, but now that we have a women's one and a men's one, I kind of understand why they're its own pay-per-view. But I don't count as a pick for. So like Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Mania, Rumble, I won't do a show that Saturday or Sunday. I'll probably give you what I think about it throughout the week, like I'm doing this. So you actually hear about what I thought about Backlash next Saturday, if at all, because I just don't really care. You know what I mean? It's for me, the three things I said. Not enough time to invest in the storylines, too soon, happening too soon. I forget the other thing I said. The predictable. I think it's the predictable thing. So let's go over these predictions. I'm not giving to you in specific order. We all know the main event is going to be Orton versus Cena because it's for the main WWE Undisputed Championship. So first, let's give you the card here. I had it pulled up here just a little bit ago. So for the card, now with these PLEs, it's usually about 5 matches. And maybe you might get an impromptu match added to the card. But more often than not, under this new Paul Levesque era, the PLEs have only been like 5 matches, whereas the big events have been 2 nights and way more than 5, right? So tonight we got both the Intercontinental Championships on the line, the Women's Intercontinental and the Male Intercontinental. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. The Women's Intercontinental Championship, Lyra Valkyria defending against Becky Lynch. And then we have we have Pat McAfee versus Gunther, and a fatal 4-way United States Championship match with Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight versus Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, and of course Orton versus Cena for the WWE Undisputed Championship. So, Pat McAfee versus Gunther is what I'll start with because it doesn't have a championship on the line, so it definitely isn't as important as other 4 matches. Obviously, Gunther's winning this. I mean, Gunther has lost to Ilya Dragunov, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Braun Breaker. And like I said, you don't have Pat McAfee be the one, the 5th only person in WWE to defeat him. Because one of these is not like the other. And it's like, no, you're not having McAfee. This match might be like Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, where it's just like going into it's like, this match doesn't sound good on paper, and it ends up being really good in physical form. So I might tune in just for that match to see how it goes down, because I might be pleasantly surprised by how good of a match it ends up being. But obviously Gunther's winning this. And this is the thing, like I said, this is what's making me not care about it, is because almost all these results, you could just, I know who's winning, right? And this is why a lot of times when I watch my little YouTube wrestling channel videos, and every now and then I'll see like a What Culture list of the 10 yada yada. They're basically like the Watch Mojo of wrestling, right? And I won't watch it if I feel like I could predict most of what's on the list. that's what I'm getting here with this PLE. It's like, I don't feel inclined to watch it. I feel like I know all the results. But definitely Gunther's beating Pat McAfee. I mean, for all these matches, we only had about 3 weeks of build. We just had a segment with Gunther telling McAfee what he's going to do to him. Then prior to that, we had McAfee do a promo, and then the week before that is when it started. So not a whole lot of meat on any of the bones here. I think Orton versus Cena and Lyra versus Becky has the most meat because of the history. Lyra and Becky may be more outside the ring because Becky pretty much helped Lyra get to where she is in the business legit. And Cena versus Orton because we've seen them go against each other back and forth since 2006, 2007. But the rest of the matches, not a lot of meat on the bones, right? So after Pat McAfee and Gunther, I'm going to say for the Fatal 4-Way United States Championship match, Jacob Fatu is not losing that belt this early. He just won it. And I got to say this too. So we got Dominic versus Penta, Lyra versus Becky, and Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre, right? Of these 3 matches, I think everybody's retaining. But if I had to say which one of these is like, I would bet my rent, my apartment, well, my door in my apartment, my figure collection on, I would probably say Jacob Fatu. Like, there's a little bit of me that makes me feel like, okay, because Penta's on a nice little momentum. He's lost some matches, but he's on a good momentum. So maybe he could beat Dominic, even though Dominic just won. And then there's Becky versus Lyra, where it's like, Lyra was the first Intercontinental Champion, women's Intercontinental Champion. And she's already beat Becky for a championship. And, she's had it for a little bit now. So I could kind of understand or see Becky winning that one. But, so I'm not wholehearted in my predictions with those, but, you know what I'm saying? But Jacob's definitely winning the Fatal 4-Way. And here's my thing. I feel like they're starting to get a little bit too reliant on Fatal 4-Way and triple threat multi-man match types. Like I was saying, I think WWE's tropes for when they don't have anything to do with somebody, throw them in a 3-way. Throw them in a Fatal 4-Way. Throw them in a tag team. Throw them in a ladder match. Throw them in a battle royal. And it's like, this is Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight, which keeps LA Knight in the Bloodline Vortex. And then you basically just took Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre and just added that match to this one to make it a Fatal 4-Way. I think we're ready for something fresh. Like, let's do Drew McIntyre versus just LA Knight. You know what I mean? Let's do... Because weren't Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and freaking Tangaloa a team up in TNA? There's history there. So let's just give us those guys versus each other. And how about Damian Priest versus Jacob Fatu? Just those guys. That'd be a good match. But now, I was listening to Wrestling Soup. That's another one of my favorite wrestling podcasts. And they drive home a good point. I'm like, if Jacob wins, maybe it's because Solo interferes. Fucks up, messes up something. And I agree with that. Maybe if Jacob does lose, that could be what causes it, but where's the follow-up? What's the next big pay-per-view? What is the next pay-per-view? You know what I mean? So, you're not gonna... They've been building Solo versus Jacob's tension and dissension and what have you for a little bit now. I don't think you would just throw away that at a little minor pay-per-view that, quite frankly, right now, I can't even tell you what the name of the next WWE pay-per-view is going to be. That's not SummerSlam, and that's in August. And the next one is, in June. It probably is Money in the Bank. So I don't know. You know what I mean? And here's another thing to consider, too. Who are the two biggest guys that we have as candidates to win the Money in the Bank this year? Some people say LA Knight. But what about Jacob Fatu losing this match and then winning Money in the Bank? You know what I mean? So that's something to think about as well. But definitely Jacob's, I think, is going to win this match. He just won the title. And the same could be said about this next match with Dominic versus Penta. But this one's kind of, I feel like this could go either way. I feel like Dom's going to retain. But damn, Penta's been on a good momentum as of late. This is like, I could see them feeling like they booked themselves in the corner here with this one. Because you could have Finn interfere and cause Dominic the match. Same thing with the Fatal 4-Way. Like, you could have another member of the stable interfere and mess up the match for their guy. You know what I mean? There's a lot of similarities and storylines going on here. On both brands, SmackDown and Raw. But I'm going to say Dom. And now we have the final secondary championship match, which is Lyra versus Becky. And, I will probably go with Becky on this one. I think she's going to beat Lyra. Because Lyra's had the belt for a while. She's defended it quite a number of times already. Doesn't even seem like she has. I think they want to have Becky win this match because she will be almost a Grand Slam champion if she wins this match, right? Because she's had tag team championships, I think, with Charlotte. Her and Charlotte beat Kabuki Warriors one time. And they were tag team champions. So really, if Becky wins this, she will be technically a Grand Slam women's champion. If I'm not mistaken, she'd be the first women's Grand Slam champion in WWE, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you're listening. So I think Becky's going to win this match. And then, last but not least, we got Cena versus Orton. And obviously, I think Cena's winning this. Now, I don't know if Travis Scott's going to come out. Travis, well, he is shit as far as this whole angle of him being in it. Without The Rock, I mean, nobody wants to see Travis Scott without The Rock. You know what I'm saying? So, Cena's obviously winning this one. I mean, and I guess some people, I could see it being totally plausible that Orton won because, it would make sense, but it kind of won't because Orton's only got 14 championships. He's not going to be Rick Streak. Cena's already done that. So, we know Orton's going to probably win that belt at some point, but you can always do that at any other time in the next several years he's going to be in WWE. So, Cena's winning this, but like I said, I don't know if it's because of Travis Scott's antics or anything like that. I just know Cena's winning because they want to do a lot with Cena. That I saw something, and it makes a lot of sense that a lot of this is going to be Cena facing. He's only got like 26 appearances left after this. So a lot of it's going to be him interacting and feuding with a lot of the people that he's faced before. Because if you want to get the best matches I've seen him during this last run, familiarity will probably be the way to go. Because there are not a lot of these new people that I think he would mesh with at this juncture of his career. I mean, look at the Austin Theory match. It was, You know what I mean? It wasn't that good. Look at him versus Cody. Wasn't that good. But I think this match with Orton will be great because they know each other so well in ring. You know, it's just a different dynamic because Orton's the babyface and Cena's the heel. When the last time we probably had Cena's the heel and Orton's the face was OVW. Fucking Randy Orton was doing not drop kicks, but the drop salt that Paul London did, where it's like a drop kick backflip. Was the last time they faced off and there was Orton face, Cena heel. So that's my predictions. Cena winning the match. Now, I don't know if you all played 2K25, but the DLC's coming out. I think it's this week. And we got Stephanie McCurr, Julia, the Motor City Machine Guns, and a special celebrity, which I think they kind of spoiled it already. I think it's going to be KSI, honestly. I think it's going to be KSI because they showed something where it was a character in a Prime bottle, and I definitely think it's going to be KSI. Now, we are going to probably get, we got another one that's like NBA stars. And I forget who else is a part of that pack, but yeah, I think it's KSI. That comes out, I think, this week. I can't wait for it to come out because Stephanie is one of those ladies. Her and Julia both, I can't wait to, play with them in the game because their movesets are fucking crazy. But yeah, it's just going to be weird not having Booker T as an NXT announcer for when Stephanie does that little move that she does. But that's what's interesting about the games this week. So you got to update your 2K25 if you haven't already for the patch and everything. And I just really can't wait to see what the mods are going to look like because the Stephanie model, it could be a little bit better. But we only saw a small sample of her. I think they did a trailer last night on SmackDown and showed her off. I know for a fact the moves to the Motor City Machine Guns are going to be crazy, though. New sliced bread number 2 for Alex Shelley and, maybe an actual new Cradle Shock animation because we got a Cradle Shock in the game, but now we're going to have one that looks more like what Chris Sabin does with it. I'm just happy to have them in the game. And I know people are going to do, like, mods of them when they were in their prime in TNA back in the days. Hell, I even give them that, I think his name is WNWH. He's one of the guys I go to here on YouTube who does, like, the things with the arena effects. So you can download them and, use Sound Editor to replace the things you don't like. I would love it if he did the old Motor City Machine Guns TNA thing because I do not like this pump your fist shit that they got going. Raise your fist or wherever this WWE thing they have is. And they haven't even been on the show as of late. Were they in that ladder match a couple of weeks ago? I don't remember. I think they were. I don't know. But anyway, because now we got Fraxium feuding with people, and they actually pinned Street Profits, I think, last night. So I still think they should have been on Raw. But other things that kind of piqued my interest, and I felt I had to talk about. You guys have to see yet another Cross promo. The guy's getting where he needs to get, finally. I wish Kevin Castle was alive to see Cross finally getting some attention and slowly getting some fan support in the arena, not just on Instagram or online, but starting to get, like, the fans rooting for him. I mean, he did just lose a match on main event to, like, I think Dragon Lee, but it's main event, so I don't pay that no mind. But I think he's finally getting over. I just wish Kevin Castle was here to see it. Something came out that he has the third best-selling shirt right now on WWE.com. And his shirt is actually outsold Orton and Cena's, which definitely not a slouch, because those guys are legends. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see Cross finally getting his clout. He's killing in his promos. He did another one this past Monday about it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. I definitely could see big things for Cross, though. I've always been a fan of his work. The promos and how he's kind of self-made in that regard. You know, he does his own shit on his own YouTube channel. So I'm happy about that. But all the other things, a few other things I want to talk about is, well, I know we all excited for GTA 6. We gotta wait until next May to get it. A trailer came out. It was about 9 to 10 minutes long, 8-9 minutes long. So we gotta stay alive for another year, guys. It's gonna be hard, but we gotta live another year before we get GTA 6. My thing is this. Tekken is the only other game I thought of that takes this long between releases. Well, not this long, but you get a good Tekken game like every 3 to 5 years, right? And maybe, if you're lucky, you might get 2 per system, right? You might get a numerical Tekken and maybe 2 numerical Tekkens and maybe a tournament game, right? Well, GTA 6 has taken us 13, gonna be 14 years to get. My thing is, if it's taking this long for us to get 6, how long will it take us to get 7? Will we even see 7 in our lifetime? And if we do get 7, are they finally going to go somewhere different? Because they have kind of always been in Vice City, San Andreas, or Liberty City. If you really go back and look, they've always been there. We should get a GTA that I would love to see one in like a quasi Chicago in my lifetime. Being I am from there. But I just don't know if that's ever going to happen. I don't know. So I do look forward to 6, though. As a non-wrestling fan, I'm sure that's something that all of us are looking forward to. Because a lot of us all in the same vein. We grew up on Mortal Kombat. For me, I had like a rotation. It was a Dragon Ball Z game, a Mortal Kombat game, a GTA, and a wrestling. You know, a WWE, a wrestling game. So, you know, we just got word that there's going to be a Daima DLC for Kakarot. And I think they already did one for Shining, whatever the fuck the name is. I don't think I even got that Dragon Ball Z game. Which is basically Tenkaichi 4. But I cannot think of the name they changed it to, which is actually a name for it in Japan. I almost said Shining Wizard. Great Mood is on my mind, I guess. But, you know, it probably won't be another Dragon Ball Z for a little bit. We basically just got the Tenkaichi one. Shin Budokai, I don't know what the fuck the name of it is. But yeah, it was always a Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 1, it's not... Look, 11 was the best one in the new era, I would say. I still think 11 is the best one post-Armageddon. 10 was good, but 11 is, yeah. So, yeah, it was a Mortal Kombat, GTA, a wrestling, and, yeah, DBZ. But that's for that. Now, the only other things I got to say are about Jordynne Grace. On NXT, we had Jordynne Grace versus Julia. And I didn't see the match. All I saw were two spots where one, I think, was a legit botch, but it wasn't Jordynne Grace's fault. And the second one, I don't see a big deal in because of where Julia is used to coming from. I think even she actually gave Jordynne some props on X, like, you really gave it, a good match tonight. She basically gave Jordynne her flowers, like, that was a really good match, whatever, in her own words, right? So there was a part in the match, I'm going to put the link in, where Jordynne Grace was, catching Julia against the Irish Rip, and what was meant to be an inverted gut wrench suplex. So instead of like having her in a gut wrench, landing on her back, she had her landing on her stomach. And Julia landed right on the back of her head, right? I think that was basically similar to what happened with John Cena and Nakamura, where you're so used to taking this bump a particular way that you tuck your chin. And I think Julia just took it wrong. So she wasn't expected to go on her head. She should have landed like a pancake, like a backflip, landed on her head like a German suplex. So that I see was probably being more Julia's misinterpretation of the bump she was supposed to take. And, 90% of the moves, they tell you to tuck your chin. So, but the second one was I think Jordynne hit her like the Grace driver. It looked more like a Michinoku driver, I guess. And it looked like Julia landed on her head. But to me, if you go and look at some of the best Michinoku drivers that Taka Michinoku gave, or even like Juventud Guerrera, them bitches look like they landed right on their head or their neck. I think maybe that was more of an angular thing, but also Julia, being the tough motherfucker that she is, probably was okay with it being taken that way. She probably wanted it to look that devastating. So, that's the only thing I got for NXT this week, other than Miles Bourne winning the 25-man Battle Royal to face Obafemi for the championship. I'm happy about that because it's unexpected. Now, I know he ain't going to beat Oba, but it's unexpected. And I guess they're trying to build tension between... They really don't like the stables like they used to, do they? You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a dissension angle going on between Judgment Day with Finn and Dominic. And then they got a dissension angle going on with Solo and Jacob Fatu. And now they got one going on with the No Quarter Catch crew on NXT between Miles Bourne and Charlie Dempsey. Charlie Dempsey's trying to take Miles Bourne's championship shot, even though Miles Bourne won the Battle Royal to get the championship shot. So a lot of, same angles going up simultaneously, you know what I'm saying, between brands here in WWE. But Miles Bourne, if you haven't seen him, he looks like a miniature Randy Orton. It's just, he's got a lot of confidence, even though he is partially deaf. So a lot of people are like, why does he talk that way? I'm like, guys, he's partially deaf. And the best part about it is that he's got a self-deprecating gallows humor about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even there was like a statement backstage between him, Charlie Dempsey, and Obafemi. He's like, dude, I know I'm hard of hearing, but did you say you're going against Oba for the championship? And even if you follow Miles Bourne on X, he just takes it in stride, man. He's got a good sense of humor about it. And I'm like, that's the type of shit that gets you over with the fans. Like, you're not letting this thing debilitate you or hinder you. You're making the most of it, and you're making sense of humor of it before anybody else can. You can't really diss anybody who laughs at their own jokes and doesn't take themselves too seriously. And, you can't tell them shit about themselves. Like, you can't tell them who they are. You know what I mean? People like that usually get over. So I could definitely see Miles Bourne getting over because he just got the right attitude. But no, he's not being over at all. So I was just happy to see him win. Another news, Pete Dunne had his second child this past week. So congratulations to him. And then we got also in NXT, I think it was doing the 25-man Battle Royal, we had one of the mystery entrants, and then lights went off, and it was Elias. But he was known as Elijah during this because that's his name in TNA. And it's so weird, man. Like, we've had these guys who went to NXT, or were informally in WWE, and then they go to TNA, and then they come back to NXT for a cameo. And it's so weird, you know what I'm saying? Like when we had freaking Dana Brooke there, we didn't call her Dana Brooke, we called her Ash by Elegance. And then we have Elias, but now he's Elijah. And even when Fandango was there, he made the one appearance as Fandango, but then when he came back and actually had his match, we called him by his TNA name. So I wonder what they're going to do if Dolph Ziggler makes an appearance. Are we going to call him Dolph Ziggler, or are we going to call him Nick Nemeth? You know what I'm saying? So it was nice to see Elias back, though. And the fans actually gave him a nice little applause because, say what you will about his in-ring work, which I didn't think Elias was that bad in ring at all. And I liked how a lot of his moves is like variations. Like he had that swinging neck breaker he used to do, which is basically like a crazier version of the shake, rattle, and roll, an homage to another person who used to come out with a guitar. And then I don't know if did he do a figure four, which I guess in essence could be an homage to Jeff Jarrett, who in essence does it as an homage to Ric Flair. But, it was good to see Elias back. But say what you real about his in-ring work, he was over at one point. He got reactions when he was in WWE. So I just think they released him because they just couldn't come up with nothing for him after a while. I mean, they tried to put him in a tag team with MAGA Cop, or MAGA Cop. That's why I call, I'm going to just call him Gunner. I don't even remember what his name is in WWE. But you know who I'm talking about. The one who was with Forgotten Sons. I cannot think of his name in WWE. But we know him as Gunner in TNA. They tried to make them a tag team, and it just didn't go anywhere. And then after that, not long after, they released Elias. So, and then we're trying to make him a baby face, took away from his whole gig, because him insulting the fans is what got him over. I mean, if you could only remember Elias for one moment in his career, it was that one time him and Kevin Owens pissed off a city so bad dissing their team, they got booed for like 5 or 6 minutes. And I think it set a record when they did it. So Elias has got equity in WWE. And I think he could come back someday. But he got a nice little pop when he came back here on NXT. And I got 2 more things I want to comment about. Some things said in an interview. And beef that one person didn't end up on the best side of. So El Grande Americano won a speed championship. And he defeated, I think he beat Dragon Lee for it. And it's just crazy to me because I just don't like a Grande Americano, man. Like, I don't like how he's coming in and getting WrestleMania matches after not really putting in that much effort or work. And I really don't like how we're not using Chad Gable. You know what I'm saying? Who I wouldn't want his first championship to be the speed championship anyway, because it's less in importance than even a 24/7 championship, right? Because even that got featured on TV and people knew of it, and it had some entertaining, memorable angles, and memorable people having it, right? I mean, not everybody's on X or Twitter or what have you. So if you don't know about X or what have you, you probably haven't noticed such a thing as a speed championship. But you got this damn El Grande Americano named after a fucking coffee. And I think he's just taking opportunities away from people, especially a guy like a Chad Gable who, you know, I hope his first title is a Intercontinental Championship. I still feel like he should have won it against Sammy back then, but, you know, it is what it is. Even then, he could have had a match against Dragon Lee and won a championship. He's not even faced Dragon Lee for the belt, you know what I'm saying, for any belts. I don't think we've even seen, like, him versus Dragon Lee, Chad Gable versus Dragon Lee, but we got Grande Americano versus Dragon Lee, and now he's winning championships. It's just... There's something about that guy I don't like. You know what I'm saying? Like, ugh. But anyway, I'm a big Chad Gable guy, but I don't like El Grande Americano. And I hope Chad Gable comes back and beats the shit out of El Grande Americano for taking opportunities away from him. But anyway, so the last few things I wanted to comment about, as we are 41 minutes into this, and I said I wasn't going to go an hour, but it may damn near be an hour. It probably won't be an hour and 30 minutes, is you got to see the interaction. Well, you ain't going to see it now. You probably have to go to Instagram, so I'll probably link you guys to it, because some people are the kings of screenshotting shit like this when people like to tweet and delete. There was a interaction between Ricochet and Javon Evans. And Javon basically flamed Ricochet. It's one of those things I could show you better than I could tell you. As a matter of fact, I may very well make it the thumbnail. But I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure I'll make the thumbnail for this one yet. But I will put a link to one of the many great Instagram pages I follow who actually has the interaction every tweet of it, because Ricochet got humiliated so bad that he deleted his original post so you couldn't see what led to what was said, because he got flamed and his boss got flamed. I mean, fucking Javon Evans said, you went from working here and winning multiple championships to wrestling in front of 2,000 people for a crackhead. That was what did it. That was the ether spot right there. That was the Pusha T, you are hiding a son. That was the fuck you getting girls not because of your looks. That was the A minor of this diss track, if you will. And if you want to see the whole thread, I will be linking you to somebody who posted all of the interactions between them on Instagram. But the last thing I want to comment on is Ospreay saying that he pretty much would outwork anybody in WWE on his worst day, and that nobody in WWE could touch anybody in the AEW roster. I call bullshit on that, because see, the thing is about Ospreay is kind of the same thing with the previous generation, right? Like, you wouldn't say between Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels is a better wrestler than Kurt. It depends on classifications. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Shawn Michaels is the best superstar performer in wrestling history ever, right? But I think the best wrestler is debatable, because you could say that for AJ Styles, you could say that for Eddie Guerrero, you could say that for Bret Hart, you could say that for Kurt Angle, you probably could say that for Shawn. Because Shawn can mat wrestle. He used to do not key locks, but short arm scissors, and, you know, he could chain wrestle and things like that. But Kurt Angle and Bret Hart are better technical pure wrestlers than Shawn Michaels. You know what I'm saying? Shawn Michaels is better on putting on a performance overall than those guys are. You know what I'm saying? Like Shawn could sell. Shawn could make anybody look good. Shawn may not be the most technical wrestler. I think Shawn's more of a hybrid wrestler. Like he does a little bit of submission, a little bit technical, but mostly high flying too. And showman. So he's a hybrid. I think AJ Styles is a hybrid. I think Eddie Guerrero are hybrid wrestlers where they could do a little bit of showman, technical, and high flying. That's what makes a hybrid. So for Will Ospreay as a high flyer hybrid, I think he may be the best of that category. Him and Kenny Omega. But pure wrestler, I don't know. Because you got guys like Zack Sabre Jr. Because you got guys like Bryan Danielson, who semi-retired. Because you got guys like Gunther. But as far as WWE, you got guys like Ilya Dragunov. You got Seth Rollins. You got Roman Reigns. These guys sell and tell stories. And Will Ospreay doesn't sell like that in his matches. And that takes a whole lot away from him being able to say that and people agree with him. Because what Will Ospreay does, yes, does better than anybody. His flips, his acrobatics, and all the moves that he does look phenomenal, look crispy. And speaking of phenomenal, I think Ospreay forgets that AJ Styles is also in WWE, even though I'm going to say this and it may get some controversy, but AJ is washed now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love AJ Styles. But AJ Styles' best in-ring work was from 2005 to 2017, maybe 2018. Maybe 2018. Because his last good WrestleMania match was with Shane. And that was in 2017? So, yeah. Like, Ospreay reminds me of a young AJ. And as far as what he can do, yeah. But there are people in WWE who could fuck with him. Just because they sell more. Like Ilya Dragunov versus Ospreay. I think Ilya Dragunov is a better pure wrestler and a better storyteller in ring than Ospreay. Ilya go out there and make it look like he actually getting his fucking shits kicked in. Like, you go out there and you feel his fucking pain when he gets a Gunther chop. You see him turn red. You see his chest turn red. It looks like a fucking fight. You know what I'm saying? When he's selling up in there. And Ospreay doesn't do that in any of his matches. He does not sell like that. It's just SmackDown 2 style wrestling. Every move you get up like that. And that just takes me out of it. So, I think there's still a little bit of bitterness about what Triple H said about him not being able to handle the schedule of the WWE. We don't want people that can't handle the schedule, only want to work once a week and all this stuff. I think Ospreay took that personally and still stings. And he doesn't like the WWE style and what have you. And, yeah, it's still sour grapes there. He's still very much bothered by what Triple H said. And maybe he legit doesn't like the WWE style. Because he knows that if he went to WWE, he would not be able to wrestle that style that he does in AEW. The no-selling and lack of psychology and storytelling. He would not be able to do that there. You have to tell stories. You have to sell the moves being done to you. And he doesn't do that in his matches. And also, they wouldn't allow him to do a lot of his repertoire there. You know what I mean? WWE is about, they've had the same formula since Hogan when it comes to, hey, every now and then we let somebody go out there and do a new move, or they may have that arsenal of moves like a Cesaro and a Kevin Owens did. They have like so many different moves in their moveset. But eventually they narrow you down to 5 or 6, 7 key moves. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't like that. They like to have and show their diverse moveset. So this is why we'll always maintain we need both. We need AEW because you want to see somebody go out there and use all the moves they got. But in WWE, you also want to see people use all the moves they got. But at the end of the day, you're not going to remember a lot of them. You're going to remember which ones mattered the most and got sold the most and was a part of the biggest moment in the match. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like AEW is more about quantity of moves and WWE is about the quality of the moves being done and when they were done. You know what I mean? So I'm happy. Ospreay, I just want him to be in Fight Forever. But I don't know what they're doing with that damn game anymore. So if you want to bring Fight Forever back to life, you put Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes Moné up in there. Who, actually, Mercedes Moné just lost her Stardom Championship, I think, to AZM over there. They had a show. I forgot the name of it. I don't really too much do Japan at all. If I barely do TNA. I damn near don't do Japan news like that unless somebody big came from there or somebody from the, either of the big companies went over there. But, she lost one of her several belts, looking like the damn Ultimate Dragon picture with all her belts. And now we got her feuding with, I think, Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter, who I'm happy about because I'm happy they're doing something with Jamie Hayter other than her having a female Austin Powers gimmick or look. And her feuding with Toni Storm is actually great because they're the two most popular women there. You also got Harley Cameron and Megan Bain there and Athena to round out the most popular women in AEW. And maybe Anna Jay with that fat ass that she's got, who I love that they just let her just acknowledge the fact that she's got a nice ass for a white girl. And then Harley Cameron, her comedic, stuff. And, just Anna Jay reminds me of that cool female chick that you would have that's like just will laugh at you, you know what I'm saying, about her having a fat ass. Now, I know I said some stuff about, I think, last episode, but I don't know. I think I get a different vibe from her. She's just, I don't know. I think a lot of it's her being with that asshole Jack Perry. I don't think I like Jack Perry at all as a person after the whole Punk shit. So, but anyway, these are my Thoroughbred thoughts for this week. Again, May 4th to May 10th. And if you're watching Backlash tonight, please get some enjoyment out of it. Maybe the matches will be good, even though the results are very predictable. And sometimes predictable, still good. You know what I'm saying? So, enjoy the show tonight if you're going to watch. And I'll be back next Saturday. Y'all take it easy. And thanks for listening.